Here are 70 crazy, bizarre, and mind-blowing facts about ancient Egypt that go far beyond the pyramids and pharaohs. 1. Eye makeup was practical. Both men and women wore heavy black coal eyeliner, not just for beauty, but to reduce glare from the sun and protect against eye infections. 2. They invented toothpaste. Egyptians used a paste made from rock salt, mint, dried iris flowers, and pepper, an early form of toothpaste. 3. Women had equal rights. Egyptian women could buy, sell, and inherit property, initiate divorce, and testify in court, rights many women wouldn't have again for millennia. 4. They loved board games. Senet was a popular board game believed to symbolize the journey to the afterlife. Some were even buried with their game boards. 5. They used early pregnancy tests. A papyrus describes a test where a woman would urinate on bags of barley and wheat. If either sprouted, she was pregnant, and some say which grain sprouted predicted the sex. 6. They had professional mourners. Families hired women to cry and wail at funerals to show the importance of the deceased. 7. Children went naked in hot weather. It was common for children to wear no clothes until their teens due to the heat. 8. They paid wages in beer and bread. Workers on the Giza pyramids received a daily ration of 4 liters of beer, along with bread and onions. 9. They used stones as pillows. Egyptians slept on headrests made of wood, stone, or ivory, not soft pillows. 10. They filed lawsuits against animals. There are records of animals like goats being put on trial for damaging property. 11. Cleopatra was not Egyptian. She was the last pharaoh of the Ptolemaic dynasty, which was Greek. She was the first in her family to even speak Egyptian. 12. Pharaoh Pepi II used slave honey baits. To avoid flies, he would smear honey on naked slaves who stood nearby to attract insects away from him. 13. Pharaohs were often overweight. Royal mummies show many pharaohs were overweight and unhealthy due to a diet rich in sugar, alcohol, and fatty foods. 14. Many pharaohs married their sisters to keep royal bloodlines pure. It was common for pharaohs to marry their sisters or half-sisters. 15. Tutankhamun's cause of death may have been a chariot crash. CT scans show severe damage to his chest and leg, possibly from a racing accident. 16. Some pharaohs were forgotten and erased from history. Akhenaten tried to change Egypt's religion to worship one god, the sun disk Aten. After his death, Egyptians destroyed his statues and removed his name from king lists. 17. Ramses the Great had over 100 children. He fathered more than 100 sons and daughters during his long reign. 18. Hatshepsut wore a fake beard. The female pharaoh often wore a ceremonial false beard to symbolize her authority. 19. Pharaohs had multiple names. A pharaoh had 5 different names, each representing a different aspect of their divinity and rule. 20. Not just humans were mummified. Egyptians mummified cats, dogs, ibises, crocodiles, and even scarab beetles to accompany the dead. 21. The brain was removed through the nose. During mummification, embalmers used a hooked tool to pull the brain out bit by bit through the nostrils. 22. The heart was left in the body. They believed the heart was the center of intelligence and would be weighed against the feather of truth in the afterlife. 23. Some mummies have mummy-fake eyes. To make the deceased look more lifelike, embalmers sometimes placed painted stones in the eye sockets. 24. They used mummy brown paint. Renaissance artists used paint made from ground-up mummies. It was popular until people realized its origin. 25. Cats were mourned like family. When a pet cat died, owners shaved their eyebrows as a sign of grief. 26. They buried the dead with Ushebti figurines. These small statuettes were meant to come to life in the afterlife and do manual labor for the deceased. 27. Some mummies were used as medicine. In medieval Europe, powdered mummy was sold as a cure for various ailments. 28. The Great Pyramid was originally shiny. It was covered in polished white limestone that reflected the sun, making it gleam from miles away. 29. Pyramids were built by paid laborers, not slaves. Workers received wages, medical care, and were buried in tombs near the pyramids, proof they were respected. 30. They built the first known dam. The Sad el Kafara Dam was built around 2800 BC and is one of the oldest dams in the world. 31. Doors were built to be stolen. Poor Egyptians had simple reed doors, but the wealthy had wooden ones, so when they moved, they took the doors with them. 32. The Sphinx has lost its nose and beard. The nose was likely deliberately broken off in the 14th century, and pieces of its ceremonial beard are in the British Museum. 33. Some temples were built to align with the sun. On specific days like the solstice, sunlight would illuminate inner sanctums. A. G. Abu Simbel. 34. Hieroglyphs weren't just pictures. They included alphabetic, syllabic, and ideographic signs. Over 700 different characters. 35. They used crocodile dung as contraception. A papyrus recommends a mixture of crocodile dung and honey as a vaginal suppository to prevent pregnancy. 36. They wrote on broken pottery. Notes, receipts, and even love poems were often scribbled on pottery shards called ostraca. 37. Scribes sometimes cheated. There are records of scribes inflating numbers of soldiers or supplies to embezzle extra rations. 38. They performed successful brain surgery. Skulls show evidence of trepanation, drilling holes in the head, and some patients survived. 39. They used moldy bread to treat infections, an early form of antibiotics. They applied moldy bread to wounds to prevent infection. 40. Doctors had specializations. Some were dentists, proctologists, ophthalmologists, or shepherds of the anus. 41. They tried to cure baldness with hippo fat. A medical papyrus recommends a mix of hippopotamus, crocodile, tomcat, snake, and ibex fat to regrow hair. 42. They used garlic for strength. Pyramid builders were given garlic to increase their stamina and protect against disease. 43. Cats were sacred. Killing a cat, even accidentally, was punishable by death. 44. They worshipped a crocodile god. In the city of Crocodilopolis, people kept a sacred crocodile named Petsuchos, adorned with gold and jewels. 45. They had a hippo goddess. Taweret, a goddess with the head of a hippo, was the protector of childbirth. 46. They believed scarab beetles were magical. The dung beetle, scarab, was seen as a symbol of rebirth because it rolled dung into balls, which resembled the sun. 47. They believed the sky was a goddess bending over the earth. The goddess Nut was depicted as a woman arched over the god of the earth, Gebi. 48. They thought dreams were messages from the gods. Dream books helped interpret common dreams and their meanings. 49. They used lettuce as an aphrodisiac. Lettuce was associated with the god of fertility, Min, and was believed to enhance male virility. 50. They believed you could be killed by a curse of the pharaohs. Many early explorers who entered tombs died under mysterious circumstances, fueling the curse myth. 51. King Tut's dagger was made from a meteorite. The iron in his dagger blade came from a meteorite, a material rarer than gold in ancient Egypt. 52. Some women used crocodile dung as makeup. It was sometimes used in facial masks, though it's unclear how common this was. 53. They invented breath mints. To freshen breath, they used pellets made of frankincense, cinnamon, and honey. 54. They played a form of bowling. Archaeologists found a room with a lane and stone balls, likely an early bowling-like game. 55. They had a god for everything, including a goddess of vomit, Epet, and a god of sewage, Shesmu. 56. The first recorded strike in history was by Egyptian tomb workers who hadn't been paid. 57. Some priests had to shave their entire bodies daily for ritual purity. 58. Egyptians invented the 365-day calendar. 59. They believed the soul could leave the body at night in the form of a a bird with a human head. 60. They used honey as an antiseptic for wounds. 61. Some pharaohs had pet lions. 62. They believed you could take it with you. Grave goods were meant for use in the afterlife. 63. The word pharaoh literally means great house. 64. They used early forms of tampons made of softened papyrus. 65. Some mummies have tattoos of protective gods. 66. They believed the Nile flooded every year because the goddess Isis was crying for her dead husband, Osiris. 67. They used early surgical stitches. 68. They believed the world began on a small mound of earth rising from the waters of chaos. None. 69. Some women served as doctors and high priestesses. 70. They believed in a second death. If your heart failed the weighing ceremony, a monster would eat your soul.